What's up, guys? Welcome to a special segment of Ask JP featuring Tori. This is Tori Hirchis, and she is a certified 200-hour power yoga instructor. That's a lot of words. But we're going to talk a little bit about yoga today, her experiences with yoga, being an instructor, and all things yoga. And we got some good questions that we think you're all going to benefit from. So, Tori, tell us a little bit about you and what really got you kind of into yoga and what's your past experiences. Did you used to do yoga in high school or how long have you been doing this?
Yeah, I actually started doing yoga in college. It wasn't something that I grew up doing or anything like that. And my introduction into yoga wasn't what most people would have. I started doing P90X yoga, which is kind of just like a whole new level of yoga. It's
Mm-hmm.
not easy, it's really challenging.
Right.
Just looking for a new workout to do, and I really, really loved it. And at the time, there was a new hot yoga studio opening in the town that I lived in, and so my interest being sparked from P90X, I bought a membership to the yoga studio there, and I was there a couple of times a week and just fell in love with the practice and just how it changed my body and the mindfulness that comes along with practicing yoga, and that inspired me to take my teacher training and receive my 200-hour certification this past year.
Wow. So let me ask, so it's 200 hours, and I know I got to see a brief moment of that. I actually came as Tori's buddy for one of the times during her training. So I think I got to see 45 minutes to an hour of that fun stuff. How long did it take you to get that full 200 hours?
Yeah, it was actually a full 200 hours of meeting spread out from, I believe, February to the end of April or May. And we met a couple times a week, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and all day Saturdays. And we learned all things yoga for, for a couple of months. And so it was a pretty intensive training. And we all grew a lot, and it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
It sounds like it. If anyone knows me, I'm not the biggest yoga guy in the world. I've gone through several of Tori's yoga classes, and it has really been a good push for me, which is actually something we might get to here in a little bit for some added benefits for maybe even the guys who think they're hot stuff and too suave for yoga, and it might actually push you, and there can be some added benefits for that.
Definitely.
So, I guess you did kind of touch on it of why yoga is so important to you. What are some of the areas that you see the most kind of in the yoga community that might be different? Like when people think yoga, is there one set kind of yoga, or can you just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. I think that most people have, especially if they've never done yoga before, they come into it with a pretty closed mindset or maybe a little bit of negative stigma of, oh, I'm just going to go into this dark room where nobody talks. It's super serious and you just lay there and stretch sort of thing.
Right.
Well, there are certainly types of yoga like that, which can be really great and therapeutic if that's what you need. But there's also lots of different types of yoga, which I feel like a lot of people may be unaware of. There's Ashtanga yoga, there's Bikram yoga, Hatha, Kundalini, restorative, Vinyasa, power. The list goes on. There's lots of different kinds. So my certification was through power yoga.
Okay.
So I think that's predominantly what you'll find at a lot of studios nowadays is a Vinyasa style of yoga, which simply means just a flow of postures linked to your breath. So
Okay,
yeah.
wow. So, for an example, I had to go to a yoga class through one of the classes I was taking. Tori and I are both Iowa State people, so that's when we kind of grew in our friendship was going to Iowa State University up there in the kinesiology department. So there was a class that I was like mandatory for me to go to, and it was said it was like a yoga sculpt class. So that was the first yoga class I'd ever gone to. So I kind of thought almost all yoga classes were like this, and they were incorporating dumbbells into it. So
Yeah.
is what kind of category would that kind of yoga get put under as opposed to the traditional where you're maybe just doing the sort of stretching?
Yeah. that would typically be called a yoga sculpt, maybe a power yoga. Um, but that is going to be a class that's really similar to a vinyasa style where you are still flowing through movements linked to your breath, but you also get the added kick with dumbbells thrown
Mm-hmm.
into the mix, which is a lot of fun. Usually, those kind of yoga sculpt classes consist of moving through the postures and maybe staying in a posture and doing bicep curls while you're in the posture, or throwing in some burpees to get your
Mm-hmm.
heart rate up. So, yoga sculpt classes can be a great way to still get the benefits of going to a yoga class, the mindfulness aspect of it, the stretching aspect of it, lengthening the muscles while also strengthening them too, and getting your heart rate
Mm-hmm.
up at the same time, so you're getting that added calorie burn in there as well.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a fun mix. A
It
super
is a
fun
very
mix.
fun mix. I like how that kind of works. So a couple years ago, I went to one of Tori's yoga classes, one of her first ones she was teaching there, to kind of be supportive. And then after it was over, I left feeling pretty worked, a lot more worked than I thought I was going to be. But I also found a lot of benefit with the stretching aspect of it. So I started coming back to a few of the yoga classes each week, and what I started to notice, which I was not expecting, is that, for example, I was moving a lot better when I was doing certain lifts. So I was more of the free weight Olympic style type of guy, and I started noticing that over time, because of the stretching that was coming from this yoga class, that I was having a lot better range of motion even when I was doing my squat or when I was getting ready to do a hang cling. It was just a lot more different, a lot more better range of motion, and I didn't even realize that was going to come from the added stretching, and that also kind of made me realize how unflexible I was and how much that was being a hindrance to even my lifting. So I would like to point that out and note that to all my bros out there who are in the gym, of how some serious added stretching, maybe even taking yoga class, can help benefit your lift and help get those gains up, which I'm sure is what you're looking for. So you talked a little bit, mentioned some of the negative stigmas that kind of come with yoga. What I kind of talked about a pro or benefit that would come from maybe a guy who's similar to my style. What would be another benefit or some of the pros to other people, not just gym guys or anything like that, for someone incorporating yoga into their daily routine or their exercise?
Yeah, sure. Well, in regards to the gym thing, I think that a lot of athletes have started going to yoga classes, incorporating yoga into their
Mm.
routines for that exact reason. A lot of yoga practices, while there's stretching involved, a lot of the movements really focus on lengthening through the muscles.
Okay.
So even while you're moving through postures, you're still finding length and just creating longer, more toned, stronger muscles. And so I think that that is a huge benefit to it. Even if you're not somebody who lifts, even if you're just
Right.
somebody who's looking to tone up in a different
Mm-hmm.
way. Um, in regards to the mindfulness aspect of it, some people have an idea that yoga is kind of weird. You know, there's just like weird people at yoga that
Right.
maybe believe weird things, or, you know, they're kind of hippie-ish. And sure, there's people like that there. There's people like that everywhere you go. But
Everywhere.
there's really a cool mindfulness aspect of yoga that I don't think you find necessarily if you're lifting weights at the gym, or, you know, taking a Zumba class. There's a lot of the class, there's really a lot spoken to mindfulness within your movement, and there's a lot of attention drawn to your breath. And I think when we're in the gym and we're working out, and, you know, we're just trying to get done with our workout, doing whatever it is we're doing, I think we lose a lot of that mind body connection between
Mm-hmm.
our movements. And yoga is a great way to come back to that and to slow down and to not um, feel like you have to force yourself into postures that may be harder for you, but you see it being easier for someone. I know there's a lot
Mm-hmm.
of competition that happens at a gym. Um, and so I think the mindfulness aspect of it is great. It gives you a chance to just step away from everything else that is going on in your life and just listen to your breath and focus on your breath. And there's a lot of relaxation that comes from that, and you just always leave feeling really refreshed and ready to just take it on.
Sometimes when you go into the gym and you're just so intense and you're just going through this moment of almost not even focusing on the repetitions you might be doing, but you're just going there and like cranking them out, and you just have just kind of this crazy go mindset. That relaxation, I think a lot of people do not incorporate into it, and the added benefit that that can have. So that's definitely some really good information just to maybe incorporate yoga for that alone. I mean, I think everyone could use a little de-stressor in their life.
Yeah, for sure.
So as we're kind of closing here, if someone is watching this, or if were kind of interested in yoga before, or maybe they weren't and now they kind of are, what would you recommend for them to start with all these different kind of styles of yoga? For someone who's very much a beginner, where would you say maybe try this first?
Really any kind of vinyasa style class is a great place to start.
Write it down.
Yes, vinyasa. Take into account the different levels of classes. If you're a beginner, a level 1 is going to be most suitable for you. You're going to find the most benefit there, the most room to grow. I might stay away from heated rooms. That can be a little intimidating for somebody who's new, but it can also turn into something that you really, really love, the heated aspect thrown into there with it. So there's also lots of great online resources if you don't feel comfortable hopping into a gym or a yoga studio right away. I know that can be an intimidating environment for some people. Yoga with Adriene is a great resource that you can find on YouTube. All of her videos are free. Nice. Yoga by Candace. Tone It Up has some yoga videos. So you can find a lot of great resources online too that are great ways to start getting involved in yoga.
Awesome. Well, I hope you guys grabbed a lot of that information and can use it and incorporate it into your daily lives, and especially your exercise routine of working out. Because me and Tori have talked a lot about yoga and this type of thing because that's what she was very familiar with even as we were both finishing up college. So I gained a lot of information and knowledge there. I gained a lot of knowledge today here getting to talk to her. Let us know what you guys think. Drop some comments on there, comment on the video, send around, share it to people. Tori, thank you very much for coming on the show and for being featured on our little shindig here. So yeah, I think we'll close it out, guys. This was Ask JP featuring Tori, and we'll see you later.
Bye.